and the knowledge had to have existed at the beginning of the creation of the universe. Now you can place anything that you wish about how this happened, or who happened, or how it happened, or where it come from. I don't know how a God could come outside of our universe, because there's nothing outside of our universe. It's a void. There's nothing. You can't go outside of our universe. But we do know that the 10 to the billion years ago, that from the beginning of 10 billion years ago, we have the universe essentially to its time to date, the cooling of energy and the formation of stars and the formation of materials and eventually forming planets. And 4 to 6 billion years ago, we had a crust around this particular planet, and eventually some chemicals got together, and we had life. And the rest is here, and we're here. And I believe that, and I believe it is so. And all of the absolute details, and there are many details, are probably less important to me than the fact that it did begin, and it does exist, and that we're here today. I'm not fighting with religion. I'm a Christian. I have no conflict with Christian beliefs, my Christian beliefs, and with the scientific methods that I also believe in as well. So I don't see anything that's contradictory to this.
Luther, you're more. Am I on? Okay. You're more of an expert at this than I am, so I was just going to ask you to elaborate a little bit of the possibility of getting some corroborative evidence of something like the Big Bang through the view of the Hubble back into time. Is that something that might provide corroborative evidence for that?
Yes. The scientific record is accumulating substantially about our measurements and essentially what is going on in the universe, and essentially what we know about the mechanism of this. We're dealing with astronomical sizes and huge places. And if it started with a little place the size of an atom, we do know that it has done. I can tell you one thing that we can all say that is true. Time has always gone forward, and time goes forward with entropy into diversity. And diversity generates, through time, it creates everything that's possible. And what we have today possible is what we have and what we are observing.
Dr. Hovind, you will now have 3 minutes to rebuttal that statement, and then I will ask you a completely independent question. Thank you.
Okay. Humanists regard the universe as self-existing and not created based on the Big Bang theory. Textbooks say 18 or 20 billion years ago, there was all the matter in the universe, which would be a lot of stuff. And by the way, the word universe means a single spoken sentence. Universe, single spoken sentence. God said. When he said that nothing can exist outside the universe, this is about like two computers talking to each other. Does man exist? Nothing exists outside the computer. We're it. Duh. Okay. All the matter in the universe was concentrated in one very dense, very hot region that may have been much smaller than a period on this page. I think that's what we just heard a moment ago. Okay. This textbook says, after many billions of years, all the matter and energy will once again be packed into a small area. This area will be no larger than the period at the end of this sentence. Then another Big Bang will occur. It happens every 80 to 100 billion years. Save the planet. We're going to get squished, folks, okay? This guy said nothing really means nothing. That's brilliant, okay? Not only matter and energy would disappear, but also space and time. However, physicists theorize that from the state of nothingness, the universe began in a gigantic explosion. I believe that's what I just heard in the last few minutes, okay? This whole Big Bang idea started with a guy named George Latimer. who said the thing that exploded was a few light years in diameter. Well, at the least, that's about 12 trillion miles, okay? Then by 1965, they said, well, it was only 275 million miles. 1972, I think it was Scientific American said, no, the thing that exploded, the Big Bang, came from something only 71 million miles in diameter. Later they said, oh, no, it's only 54,000 miles. 1983, they said the thing that exploded was a trillionth the diameter of a proton. Now, that's tiny, okay? And now they're saying nothing exploded. Here's Discover Magazine 2 years ago. Where did everything come from? The universe burst into something from absolutely nothing. Zero. Nada. As it got bigger, it became filled with even more stuff that came from absolutely nowhere. How is that possible? Ask Alan Guth. His theory will explain everything. Well, what does Alan Guth say? In Scientific American, Alan Guth says the observable universe could have evolved from an infinitesimal region. That's a dot. He said it's then tempting to go one step further and speculate that the entire universe evolved from literally nothing. Folks, why would a sentence like this be found in Scientific American? There's nothing scientific about that statement. It exhibits incredible faith. But the textbooks teach this dot was spinning. It spun faster and faster. Finally, it exploded. The Big Bang. There are so many problems with the Big Bang. Simple physical science problems. What exploded? Where did the matter come from? Where did the energy come from? Where did the organization come from? Where did the information come from? The story he gave was so good, I got to replay the tape and hear this, 4.6 billion years ago, the planet developed a rocky crust. The chemicals got together, blah, blah, blah. Here we are. Exactly what I said earlier. That's what the theory teaches. Now, if he wants to believe that, that's fine. I don't care what you believe. But don't call that science. And don't make me pay to teach that to the rest of these kids in this university. These kids came here to learn some science, not a fairy tale like that. Thank you.
Dr. Hovind, the next question will be posed to you. You'll have 7 minutes, and then the evolutionists will have 3 minutes. The question's more of an open-end one. Please prove, disprove, or generally talk about carbon dating and how it relates to evolution.
Get my projector on here. See, I have about 7,000 slides in PowerPoint, so it helps if you ask the questions in the same order that I have the answers. Carbon dating? Okay. Carbon dating, actually fossils are dated by their position in the geologic column. They are not dated by carbon dating or potassium, argon, rubidium, strontium, lead-208, lead-206. None of those matter. A fossil is dated by the position in the geologic column. They're called index fossils. This guy admits it. Radiometric dating would not have been feasible if the geologic column had not been erected first. The geologic column was invented in 1830s. That was taught for 120 years and became accepted as science, and the geologic column doesn't exist any place on the planet. Okay, there is no geologic column. There are layers of rocks. And they're assuming that it's different ages. That's the problem right there. This guy says fossils have been and still are the best and most accurate method of dating and correlating the rocks in which they occur. We go through all kinds of examples on this, but on video 7. The Earth's atmosphere is about 100 miles thick. It is mostly nitrogen, 78%, 21% oxygen, a little bit of CO2 for plants to breathe, and very little radioactive carbon-14. 0.0000765%. This radioactive carbon-14 mixes with oxygen and it becomes carbon dioxide. Most of it does. And the plants are breathing carbon dioxide. Now, carbon-14 is formed when radiation strikes the atmosphere. The nitrogen, which is the majority gas are up there and here, nitrogen gets bombarded by cosmic rays and it bombards the upper atmosphere, producing fast-moving neutrinos. These neutrinos collide with atmospheric nitrogen, producing carbon-14. That's how it's made. If you look at a periodic table, carbon and nitrogen are right next to each other. Nitrogen is normally an atomic weight of 14, and carbon is an atomic weight of 12. But if the nitrogen gets blasted with these neutrinos, it turns into carbon-14, which is a rare, very rare, and radioactive element. It is radioactive just like uranium or any other radioactive element, and you can hear it as it decays or breaks apart and throws off all the little particles into space around it. Now, carbon-14 is being produced by the sun, or by the neutrinos, by the high-speed radiation. Doesn't matter. It breaks back down to nitrogen. About half of it breaks down every 5,730 years. Okay, this is estimated to be the half-life. Obviously, nobody watched it for 5,700 years. But during photosynthesis, plants are breathing in CO2. And so the animals eat the plants and make it part of their body. So you and I probably have carbon-14 in us because at some time in your life, you have either eaten plants or you've eaten animals that have eaten plants. That's about all there is, okay? So these plants are absorbing things out of the atmosphere. They're absorbing the carbon-14. It becomes part of their tissue. It is assumed the ratio of C14 to normal C12 in the atmosphere would be the same ratio found in living plants and animals. If the atmosphere is 0.0000765%, it is assumed plants